It's a great day, Scott. The World Cup kicks off tonight in Mexico, and then we're going to be back in the U.S. tomorrow. And
SoFi Stadium.
And here on cue,
I appreciate it, first of all, that you said soccer.
Not football.
Not football. I think the more accurate expression of the game is commie ball.
Oh,
what did I tell you, Scott?
But
You predicted
America's
that.
sport is
You predicted
football, and with an actual football, not a round ball, or basketball. If you watched that finals last night, watch the church. My Spurs completely choke.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a Knicks fan, so this is great. It's a
Maybe
good day.
even hockey, but hockey's more. I'm not. I although the Stanley Cup has been fantastic, but anything but soccer.
World Cup is here. It's good to see you guys here.
Too boring.
Our state representatives.
He just doesn't understand it, Scott.
Yeah, you'll
It's
teach him.
okay.
Yeah,
I'll have to work through it. It's a little bit complicated for him.
Complicated. You kick around a little ball on a 200-yard field with 22 people on.
A couple billion people in the world.
Well, I heard the state's legislature honored a soccer player yesterday. Pennsylvania's own, the captain of the American team, got a special.
Yes, Christian Pulisic. Yeah. Christian Pulisic and the U.S. team we did a House resolution yesterday. Just
I do
wishing
like
him
the
good
World
luck.
Cup. That's the only soccer I enjoy watching. Only because it's such a fiasco with all the different different and everyone watching. But
no
sport,
Lebanese or Greek this year. No Greece team this year.
Let's get into government politics and anything people want to talk about. Phone number is 724-843-1888. I'll begin with the general question. What have you guys been cooking up in Harrisburg? What's been some of the legislation you've been forwarding or voting on, and what do people need to know is coming down the pike?
Well, I can tell you it's budget month, which is like the marathon month. We should have been talking about the budget months ago, but this administration didn't want to, so it is what it is. That's the frustrating thing about me learning. What I'm learning in Harrisburg is how much procrastination takes place because everyone's jockeying for position. But in the meantime, I'm going to let Josh actually talk a little bit about. He's leading the charge on energy policy, and there's a group of us legislators that are going to be working on different policies. But Josh is tackling this head on, so it's something we're all working on.
It's what everyone's talking about, energy and that kind of thing.
And so what we realized is in Harrisburg, there's been a lot of proposals about dealing with the costs of electricity in particular. And in Pennsylvania, we should have the cheapest electricity in the nation. We should have the cheapest electricity anywhere in the world, quite frankly. We don't. Our energy costs are high, and they're just as high as they are in other states around us. And the reason we should have the cheapest cost is because we have the source of the energy, the source of the electricity is coal and natural gas and nuclear, and we have a lot of those assets in our Commonwealth. Unfortunately, over the course of the last number of years, decades, Pennsylvania's government in Harrisburg has figured out ways to screw up our grid, and that has jacked the cost of electricity. There's a lot of talk about data centers and those types of things, and that raising the cost of our electricity. There is not a single new data center project that's been online. All these things have been announced. They're not taking energy from the grid. What's driving the cost of electricity now, going into the future, that is something that absolutely needs to be dealt with. But what's driving the cost of your electric bill right now is Democrat energy policy over the last 15 to 20 years in some cases. And so how do we reverse that? How do we start leveraging our own assets in Pennsylvania? How do we ensure that our electricity costs go down long term? This is a long term problem that's been developed by bad energy policy, and the solution is going to take some time as well. And the real solution is to build more power plants. Democrat energy policy has been shutting down power plants across the grid, in particular in Pennsylvania. And now we need that power for electricity generation. And so what this package of bills is really striving to do is to generate an environment, facilitate an environment in Pennsylvania where we are building these power plants, where we are generating more electricity using Pennsylvania resources, our coal, our gas, so that we can keep the lights on, because pretty soon if we don't if we don't do something, we're going to start seeing brownouts and blackouts, and people are going to really start feeling the pain from these bad policy decisions. So the goal is to keep the lights on and keep the cost down. And if Harrisburg can get locked in on this, then we're going to see a prosperity in this Commonwealth for the next 100 years. But if we can't, we keep going down this green new scam, whatever it is now, we're going to see more of these plants shut down. We're going to see a lot of stress on the grid. And ultimately, we're going to see lights that don't work like we're in some third world country.
What's an example of a policy you'd want to see revoked?
Yeah, so what we're looking at is giving stability to people that want to develop these things. There's been environmental policies that change. So what developers are saying is, hey, listen, we need stability to know that the policies today are going to be the policies 10 years from now. These are long-term big projects. The instability in regulatory schemes causes a lot of heartburn. There's issues with the DEP's regulations not matching with the EPA's regulations, which causes a lot of confusion for people. EPA regs should be consistent with DEP. DEP regs should be consistent with the EPA. We're not talking about cutting corners. We're not talking about making it easier to violate or to pollute. That's not it at all. What we're talking about is giving some consistency, giving some stability. And then we're also talking about getting rid of old garbage, green energy schemes that have not worked. There's this alternative energy portfolio that jacks up everybody's electricity bill because we're mandated to use a certain percentage of energy from the grid. It's like $800 million a year taxpayers are using to subsidize these phony energy sources. And on top of that, those phony energy sources are jacking up your electricity bill because the grid is mandated to use them. So we have all of these different things that are in place that we need to look at and get serious about because, you know, it's just been magical. The last 5-10 years, the Democrat energy policy has been use less electricity while at the same time encouraging everybody to use more electricity. So they want to cut our ability to generate electricity, meaning get rid of coal, get rid of natural gas. Those are the consistent ways to generate electricity. While at the same time, they're telling everybody, get an electric car, electrify everything. So the supply for electricity has been going like this, way down. Demand has been going through the roof. And now everyone's surprised and looking at each other like, why are the prices going up? And then Josh Shapiro's out there looking for a boogeyman around every corner when all he has to do is look in the mirror. It's him and his party that has been pushing this nonsense, and they're trying to blame PJM, which is culpable, by the way. PJM has issues because they've been beholden to these Democrat policies in other states. He's trying to blame the big utility companies. He's trying to blame everybody he possibly can. Every week he's pointing a finger at somebody new. They know what it is. They know the issue's them, and they don't want to admit it, and they also don't want to solve the problem, which is concerning. So we're putting forward this package of bills to actually solve these problems, to actually develop new energy sources for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania so that we can keep our lights on and the cost down.
Yeah, no, I mean, Josh explained a lot of that in great detail. And that's what people need to understand. And we're looking at, so PJM, if people don't know, this is the compact of states that we share an electrical grid with. We've got, states all around us, like Delaware, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Maryland, Virginia, right? We're talking to the states around us. We've got states like New Jersey, and Maryland in particular, that are shutting down their generation because their leadership in those states are championing this message of we are heading toward net zero. We are trying to lower our carbon emissions. But what they don't tell you is that 40% of their energy, for instance, like Maryland, is actually more now, but we'll say conservatively 40% of their energy is being imported from Pennsylvania generation. So we're generating gas that we have to ship to Maryland. So Maryland can cut their generation, not contribute to the grid. Say, look at me. They can say, look at all of our movement towards quote unquote net zero when they're just borrowing or really taking our energy from Pennsylvania. It's the same thing that happened in Europe. all the European countries talking about how they're going net zero, but meanwhile they're funding the Russian war machine by buying all of their natural gas and importing it and realizing, oh no, we're in trouble now. We don't actually generate our own, so we need to maybe start up coal-fired power plants again like Germany did. So it's a mess. New Jersey recently shut down a nuclear power plant themselves. So that generation thing is a real problem. Yep. And again, if you look at the states that are generating energy, they happen to be, there's one thing that's consistent with them, and it's not Democrat energy policy. They are championing all of the above strategies, which we it's not that we want to cut off an energy source. We want everything on the table because we think people actually need their lights on.
We want everything that works.
Yeah.
We want everything that works. And I think it's important to note here, Scott, when I talk about scams that have been sold to us, I'm not suggesting that we shouldn't be concerned about our environment or that we shouldn't be polluting or that we shouldn't be keeping an eye on that. What I'm suggesting is that this new or old energy policy, this green, quote unquote, green energy policies that Democrats have been saying, one, doesn't work. It's going to shut down our grid. We've already seen it in places across the country. But two, it's not clean. It's not green, and it's not renewable. China is building tons, dozens of new coal-fired plants every year. And they're using these plants without any regulation, by the way, to generate these solar panels. And the materials it takes for these solar panels, like the pollution it causes to build a solar panel, is incredible. It's incredible. So if you're concerned about that, and you're concerned about emissions, and you're concerned about other pollutants and destroying the earth, you do not want solar panels. You also don't want the windmills. Like the carbon footprint of these sources of energy is massive. And on top of that, they're out after 20 years. And so that's not renewable. So you have this issue that you have to keep replacing them and keep mining and keep destroying the earth and keep polluting. We need a new direction. We need to look at Pennsylvania's assets. We need to use Pennsylvania's natural resources, and we need to do it here, and we can do it right, and we will if we let the market work. And that's what this package of bills is really about.
Related to energy, a couple of days ago, an Italian company, a nuclear company, announced it's moving its headquarters to Pittsburgh. You know what I'm talking about, Terra Innovatum, and their CEO was quoted as saying, we looked at proximity to national labs, federal agencies, manufacturing hubs, and nuclear talent pools. Pittsburgh won on every dimension that matters. So they're saying they have it's low enriched uranium, and they have the ability to shut down automatically, so it's safer than nuclear plant we've seen before. Is that something on the agenda? Is that something you could see coming back?
Nuclear is very exciting. Nuclear is very exciting, and we have a long, rich history of nuclear energy in my district with the plant right down here in Shippingport. President Eisenhower was here when that plant was first built. I think in 1958 or 6, one of the two. It's the first commercially used nuclear power plant facility. Now, the facility that's there isn't that original facility. They upgraded it and really changed it in the 70s. But nonetheless, we have a long, rich history of nuclear power with Westinghouse here and the other technologies. Nuclear is a great source of baseload energy. We need it. We need lots of it. We need gas and we need coal. We need all of the above energy that works. And nuclear is certainly one that has proven itself to work. And the technology that they're developing is really around safety and convenience. And so that's gone leaps and bounds here in the nuclear space. And I'm looking forward to them coming to this region and continuing to grow in that tradition.
Yeah, the micro nuke stuff, if people are listening and they don't know what some of that is, the nano nuke, micro nuke, that technology it's pretty remarkable. I mean, especially what they're saying is going to come online, or the possibilities here in the next 5 to 10 years, the ability to use a small amount of uranium to power a significant amount. I think in a lot of ways, nuclear is going to be the future. Especially in emergency situations, and there's a lot of fear around it, from past generations because of some of the disasters that had happened internationally. But the safety on these things is changed dramatically, and we know how important the nuclear plant is here in Beaver County, and there's just so much opportunity with nuclear and these energy sources. But we've got to get government out of the way on this. I mean, the policies that we hear every single day that are being offered in the state house, it's just, there's no economics in it. There's no understanding of supply and demand. There's really no understanding of, it is fantasy land, and it will become a problem when the lights don't turn on.
And what's amazing is the reason we're seeing so many different terrible bills being introduced on this is because now finally our colleagues on the other side of the aisle are realizing there is a serious energy issue and that their policies have created this mess. And so they're trying to find people to blame. And so every week we have a bill that's, yelling at the utility companies, that's yelling at the grid. They're all just messaging bills so they can get out there and say, this is who the problem is, not us. They're not actually trying to solve the problem, which is very unfortunate. And I just get so frustrated, Scott, with the press pool out in Harrisburg. We have been talking about this issue. I've been talking about it since I've been in the legislature. I think I had 3 or 4 press conferences last cycle on this exact issue, talking about this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. You guys have caused this. You guys have caused this. And now all of a sudden the Democrats are talking about it and the press just eats it up. They just say, oh, wow, they're blaming PECO, or they're blaming the utility companies, or they're blaming PJM. It's remarkable to me how poorly of a job they are doing in actually pinpointing who the real source of the problem is. We could keep saying it, and we will, but it's just unfortunate that we're not seeing the real issues come out. And it's not about patting myself on the back saying, oh, I was right all along. It's not about that at all. It's about actually getting to a solution. And we're not going to get to a solution because in Pennsylvania, you need bipartisan support. And you're not going to do that if one side is just continually trying to find someone else to blame. If there was a real consensus that it's their policies that are causing this, which is the truth, then they would pivot and start doing policies that would make sense for the Commonwealth with us. But right now, they're still just trying to point fingers, and things will get real once the lights get shut off. And that's a very unfortunate, it's very unfortunate that it has to get until that point. But I just feel like that's what's, at stake. And the lights shut off, not when it's, 70 degrees out and feels like San Diego. The lights go off when it's very cold or very hot.
Like yesterday.
Yeah, and so people are going to suffer because of these energy policies, not just because our costs are through the roof. We're going to suffer when the lights turn off, too.
Well, it's a very easy step from talking energy to talking data centers, and more we're seeing people going to public meetings expressing themselves. There's a bit of a pushback from the state level. Well, what has been done? Are there any outstanding legislation out there still to be decided? Or
yeah, one of the things that I know that we passed in a bipartisan fashion, which again has been really difficult in Harrisburg to do lately, but this is a topic we're all talking about and at least learning about. There's so much to learn, and so one of the things we did was pass a bill and pass legislation to deal with model zoning ordinances to help local municipalities deal with these issues. I totally understand where our governor candidate, Stacey Garrity, is like, we need to take a pause or just figure things out because there's a lot there. There is, for a lot of municipalities, right, we want to give local control to people. We want communities to decide what they want in their backyard.
Zoning.
Right. That's what zoning is all about, right? And if people don't want it, that's part of that process. Is people don't want that in their community, they can go through their local officials there and have those conversations. I think one of the things that people are really concerned about is how these just came out of nowhere and like really, really fast. In the background, I think people who are in the tech space, when you talk to them, they've been thinking about this for years. And if you look at the amount of money that has been put into artificial intelligence, I mean, I could run through some crazy statistics on this stuff, but I mean, the S&P 500, top 500 companies in the country, $23 trillion in the AI space right now. It's just, and this is capital waiting to be unloaded, talking about building out infrastructure. So there's a lot of money behind this as well. And there's a lot of people trying to get a piece of this pie. So I'm concerned about, certain developers coming in and just trying to speculate to purchase and not being able to provide individuals or provide companies that can actually utilize the space, right? It's also just spec as well. So the amount of money that's going to be spent on this, so another interesting one, and I'm putting these out there because it's perspective, just how big it is. In 5 years, the internet build out was, when you were talking about 95 to 1999, that was the largest investment of capital expenditures in our country for a generation. Right? We're going to be spending what they did in that 5 years in our country on everything related to artificial intelligence. That's not just data center build out, that's everything else. We're going to be spending 10 times that amount each year.
Wow.
That's how much capital is being pushed into this space. So it is really overwhelming. I'm going to be 100% honest. There's a lot of things I'm concerned about personally, and there's a lot of things that are like, wow, that's remarkable and how it's going to change everything around us. But we have to have those conversations, and I think that locally, we want our local control. We want the people to have those conversations. I personally, I don't want to see family farmland, prime farmland turned into these massive things. That's just my opinion. I think that we have enough brown fields and industrial space that if those places want to go to there, there's opportunities, and that's happening even here in our county.
Yeah, and I think the biggest issue here is we cannot allow developers to go roughshod on local communities. Townships and municipalities have to be able to keep their ability to determine where these things are placed and where they're zoned and all that other stuff. And let me tell you a little story from my district where there's been a couple of proposed sightings of this. Obviously, there's the one at Bruce Mansfield. And there's been a couple others in more rural areas of the district. The site in Bruce Mansfield, it's on an old coal-fired plant. The plant's no longer operating because of bad Democrat energy policies, but it's no longer operating. So they're converting that plant to a gas-fired plant, and they're building a data center around it. So they're bringing their own energy. Any excess energy goes onto the grid. There's a lot of water resources right there. And there has not been much outrage whatsoever within the actual community over that project. However, when there's one proposed in a more rural setting, well, then the community is more upset about that. And the only way to ensure that those community members have a voice in what's happening in their regions is to make sure that we don't take power away from the local municipal governments. I know it can be frustrating because people come to us and say, do something about this, about that, about this. But when we make a law, everyone has to abide by it in the entire Commonwealth. Different communities can have the flexibility to do what they believe is right for their particular region. And that's what we need to make sure is maintained during this. That and the electricity issue is a big issue. We need these companies to be bringing their own electricity.
And their own, and figuring out the water situation, because that's...
Yeah, the water situation is, when it's right on the river, it's a little bit...
Yeah.
And they're a lot more efficient with water here. But I want to say something, Scott, that because there's a lot of information floating out there. Data centers aren't new. They've been around for decades. They're basically servers in a warehouse. They do cause some noise, but there's a lot of other theories running around out there about what they could do to animals in the area, what they can do to anything, really. And it's just been quite remarkable. There's a ton of information flowing right now that I would be very suspect of. Whether it's pro data center or against data center, there's just all this strange amounts of information that is going on out there. So we got to make sure we're discerning and we have actual real sources when we're looking and reading things and making determinations on this stuff. But, it should be helpful from a job standpoint, not like manufacturing was or is. But there are positive benefits to it as well. But those decisions need to be made locally, and our local communities have to be empowered to make those decisions. They're the closest to the ground. They're the ones that are listening to their constituencies the best, and that's going to be my position going forward: is empowering people to determine the future of their communities.
And you want. Like, I think that's one of the things. I'm not speaking for Josh here. He could chime in if he wants to, but for me too, I'm seeing this first year and a half in Harrisburg the types of policies that are being pushed, the way some of this legislation is written. So someone will come out championing a particular bill, and they'll say this is going to stick it to whatever data center, blah blah blah. And this just happened this week with a tax that the Democrats want to put on. But the legislation itself is so poorly written and drafted. I mean, there are punctuation errors, there are grammatical errors, there are section errors, and you're just like, these are the people you want to put in control of your local community and your ability to make these decisions.
But by the way, these are also the people that are trying to force us to put solar farms all over our districts.
Yes, exactly.
Like,
Forcing us,
don't give me your
requiring.
garbage about this. If it's not in their backyard, they don't care.
How would they do that if it was required?
They were trying to bypass local zoning for solar farms.
Called
to make
solar
sure that
industrial parks, really.
The force that you have to be able to build them. Like it was wild. Like that. Yeah, they're nonsense here.
Well, you mentioned like local control, and there's an example in Wampum Big Beaver of the former racetrack, and that seems to be. And I think anyone as a personal homeowner, if they owned that property, if someone offered you millions of dollars, you would probably take it. So I think everyone understands that. But is it fair for the municipality itself? And that kind of gets into what you're saying. There has to be some kind of local control, and that ties into zoning.
And I think that, like I said, providing model ordinances, slowing things down, making sure that people have the right information. These communities have an obligation. I mean, these developers are going to have an obligation to explain themselves to the community.
The communication has been so poor. And I've been learning about it because we got to do our own research on it, because Roman and I are dealing with this every day. But there is a lot of financial benefits to these things. I mean, if you look at the property taxes in Virginia, the one county where there's a large cluster of these data centers, they've gone down dramatically year after year because of the revenue coming from these data centers. And you look at our school districts. I mean, I know with the smaller school districts, they're struggling for revenue. And so there's all kinds of different things that you got to weigh. But again, those are local issues. Those are local things that people need to determine and weigh and talk about. So,
well, Noah, coming in 40 seconds with the news. More after that with Rappin' with the Reps.
You're busy, no time to cook. You're hungry and the kids are too. Don't stress. Make it a McDonald's dinner tonight. Download the app and get McDelivery right to your door. Whatever you're hungry for, McDonald's has it. You'll be happy and the kids will be too. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
Put freedom in your future. Freedom United Federal Credit Union in Rochester.
If you own a company or a small business, you might have considered advertising on radio. It's smart because radio is still the most far-reaching media outlet today. WBVP and WMBA can get you results. Get more information at beavercountyradio.com.
Beaver County Radio's news source. 99.3 FM, 1230 WBVP, and beavercountyradio.com. Here's Noah Haswell.
Good morning. On this Thursday, June 11th of 2026, we will have a complete Beaver County radio weather forecast after we take this look at news. Pennsylvania State Police in Beaver are investigating after shots were fired into an occupied residence in Aliquippa last night. The incident occurred at about 11:26 p.m. near the 110 block of Wyke Street, according to state police. Investigators said an unknown suspect fired shots into the home. No injuries were reported. The Troop D Beaver Criminal Investigation Unit is leading the investigation. The scene was processed by the State Police Forensic Services Unit. Anyone with information is asked to contact 724-773-7400. Thousands of people gathered Tuesday to watch the world's largest operating steam locomotive roll through Pennsylvania for the first time as part of a coast-to-coast tour celebrating America's 250th anniversary. The Lakeshore Railway Museum in Northeast Erie County said more than 4,250 people attended the event at its property, while another 1,000 spectators gathered near the tracks to catch a glimpse of Union Pacific Big Boy number 4014, often described by rail enthusiasts as the Elvis Presley of steam locomotives. Big Boy is making its first trip across the Mississippi River and into the Ohio Valley since it was built in Schenectady, New York, and delivered to Union Pacific Railroad in 1941. As part of the America 250 celebration, the locomotive is traveling across the Norfolk Southern Rail Network. It will return to Pennsylvania for 4th of July festivities in Philadelphia before making additional Western Pennsylvania stops in Leetsdale and Conway in mid-July.
With our state reps here, did you see the footage in Erie of that big boy train going by and people right by the tracks watching it? It was people loving this big train.
I actually have not. Josh, did you see
I
this
haven't
video?
seen it either. I mean, we've been out in Harrisburg the last couple of weeks because
It's a time warp in that building.
yeah, June is a crazy month for us, but I haven't seen it now.
People, it's a big moment for Pennsylvania. People, I know a lot of train lovers here.
Oh, yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah.
We had a professor in college who just retired that loved trains.
Oh, yes.
Dr. Nykirk.
Great man.
Great man, just retired.
Sorry, no, go ahead.
Oh,
PennDOT District 11 announced that lane restrictions on the I-79 Neville Island Bridge in Robinson and Neville Townships in Glenfield Borough will begin tomorrow through Monday, June 15th, weather permitting. Single lane restrictions in both directions will be in place on the bridge from 7 p.m. tomorrow through 5 a.m. Monday as needed. Crews from Lindy Paving will conduct concrete patching work primarily in the southbound lanes. All ramps will remain open during the project. Restrictions may be lifted earlier if work is completed ahead of schedule. The U.S. Department of the Treasury convened education leaders, scholarship granting organizations, and other stakeholders Tuesday to discuss the new federal scholarship tax credit program. Officials said the program, which is set to take effect in 2027, is intended to expand educational access for students and families nationwide. During the meeting, Treasury officials provided an overview of forthcoming Treasury Department and IRS guidance on implementation of the program. The guidance is expected to address outstanding questions and help SGOs and states prepare for the program's launch. Rising gas prices pushed inflation to its highest level in 3 years last month. New data released yesterday showed consumer prices rose 4.2% in May compared with a year earlier, marking the third consecutive monthly increase. Prices have now increased faster than wages for several months, putting additional pressure on household budgets. And the Pittsburgh Pirates announced that catcher Henry Davis was placed on the paternity leave list yesterday as his wife Sophia prepares to welcome their first child. This season, Davis is batting .138 with 5 home runs and 17 RBIs. In the corresponding roster move, the team recalled catcher and first baseman Rafael Flores Jr. from AAA Indianapolis. Flores Jr. appeared in 7 games with the Pirates in 2025. He has a career Major League batting average of .200 with 2 doubles.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
Today we'll see a little bit of sunshine along with a chance of showers and possible thunderstorms. We'll reach highs in the upper 80s and drop down to lows of 72. And tomorrow it'll be partly sunny with more rain and possible thunderstorms. Look for highs near 83 and lows around 60. I'm Lisa Marie with your Beaver County weather.
On this Thursday, June 11th of 2026 at 42 minutes after 9, we've got a temperature of 82 degrees with fair skies out there currently in Beaver County. That's a look at the news for now. I'm Noah Haswell on 99.3 FM, AM 1230 WBVP, 95.7 FM, and 1460 AM WMBA. Also streaming live around the world at beavercountyradio.com.
We are rapping with the rep. State Representatives Josh, Kail, and Roman Kozak in studio. This always happens. Everyone's shy to be the first one to call. It's like the 7th grade dance. No one wants to go out there first. And then with 5 minutes left, the phones will be ringing off the hook.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
Give us a call now. I was thinking of something when we were talking about the train. So there's a lot of America's 250 celebrations going on in municipalities throughout Beaver County. Was that state funding involved in that? Where did that money come from? And
There's federal funding. There's state funding. It depends on the event and what it is. The county's involved in a lot of different things themselves. We were at an event down in Beaver for the unveiling of the Liberty Bell, our version of that. Every county's getting one of those. It's the America 250 truck was at Darlington Days. I got to spend some time interacting with that. One of the cool things, you get to leave a message for the generation to come. So like when 100 years from now, when there's a celebration again, they'll have video of us, people that went in and had videos. So it was cool. That was a neat experience, and there's a lot to do.
what did you tell them? The people 100
I
years
told
from
them,
now?
I said, first, remember the most important things in life: God, family, and your country. That there's going to be a lot of nonsense that happens, a lot of craziness that's going to happen in these next 50, 75, 100 years. but to remember your roots and where you came from and who died for you to have these freedoms, because this is the greatest country in the history of the world, and you're inheriting something that is priceless.
We do indeed have a phone call. Let's take it. Hey, you're on with the Rappin' with the Reps.
I was wondering if they know when the majority of the work is going to start on the Bruce Mansfield project.
I'm sorry, I don't know if I was able to hear that. Can you repeat that, please?
I said I was wondering if they know when the majority of the work will start on the Bruce Mansfield project.
When the majority of work will start on the Bruce Mansfield project.
So it's starting right now. There's some groundwork that they're doing. The demolition will be coming in first. Hopefully it's sooner than later, because there's multiple aspects to this project. There's the power plant part, where they're converting that coal fire plant to gas. Like, that's going to be its own project. And then there's the actual development of the facility, which is, the other part of the project. My understanding is this is a couple-year project that's going to generate a lot of jobs for local construction workers. And right now they are starting some of the groundwork. And my understanding is also they are waiting for some permits to get through to keep doing the digging and demolition and the work going forward.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
We appreciate your call very much. Seems like a topic we talk about a lot is emissions. Is there any movement afoot there? We keep hearing rumblings that.
So have we talked since the Senate passed it?
Yeah, the Senate and there was multiple Democrats that joined the Republicans on this.
Absolutely.
And it's sent to us, but are we going to? Is our our Democrat
House
majority is
D's,
not
they don't want to
run it.
actually accomplish anything. They just want to have a bill that they can yell about and not get done.
So what's the status? Could we see our emissions taken away, or is it?
So you have to. Josh and I were the one that introduced the bill to get Beaver County out of it. We have a bill there. We want us out. And I get other counties like, what about us? What's that?
Well, I want
this is our
Washington
backyard.
out
He wants
too.
Washington out. He does. He has a bill for that as well. Okay, so we have a situation where there are states across the country that are doing this. In Ohio, it's something that's being done. They're appealing to the EPA because ultimately this is a federal mandate from the Clean Air Act back from 1970. But Pennsylvania comes out of this and says, we want out. Like, if we pass this legislation, it passed through the Senate, sailed through the Senate. A handful of Democrats joined all the Republicans to pass this. If it came to us and the Democrat majority in the House where we serve ran the bill, it would pass without a doubt. Because it would pass bipartisanly. Then it would go to the governor's desk. He would have to determine whether or not he was going to sign it. If he signed that bill, we would then tell the federal government, we want out. Now, then what does that look like with the Federal Clean Air Act? I won't get into all the details because it'll take too much time. But ultimately, I think with the Trump administration in there, this is a great opportunity, because I think that someone like the people there, like Lee Zeldin at the EPA, and others would see this racket happening in places like Ohio and Pennsylvania and say, we want out of these emission standard testing. I really do think that there could be a strong possibility. But again, there's so many roadblocks in the way right now in Pennsylvania with the majority party that's running it. So is it going to happen? Probably not this year, no.
We have another phone call. Hey, good morning. You're on with the state representatives.
Good morning. Can you hear me, Scott?
We can hear you. How you doing, Georgie?
Good. How you doing?
Good.
Good. Gentlemen, I want to thank you guys for coming on and telling us what's going on in our Commonwealth. I deeply appreciate you guys, and I'm so glad I voted for you, gentlemen. And keep up the good work, and I hope we get a lot of these issues resolved in the future, because we can make this state, our Commonwealth, a lot better place with the help from you, gentlemen. And God bless you, and I really respect you, gentlemen. And I know you guys are doing a wonderful job for us taxpayers. Thank you.
Thanks, George.
Thank you, George. I appreciate that.
Surely.
We're two amidst a sea of 200, so it's definitely an uphill battle. We've got a lot of other people in a lot of other parts of the state to work with, and that's part of the way the legislature works. It's slow going.
Thanks for calling, Georgie. Another question I saw, the city of Pittsburgh a couple of days ago did some kind of a law on vape shops, and they try to strengthen the laws against those or regulations. And there wasn't a lot of teeth to what they did, really, but it seems more and more we're seeing vape shops. Is a lot of that, are they betting gambling that there will be legalization of marijuana, and they're hoping that sets them up? Or what's going on with
I think people are trying to get in line with that. There is a proliferation of illegal vape going on, and there are issues because there's legitimate licensed shops, and I actually had talked to one of the owners who's a constituent of mine who has legitimate shops, and he's been working on licenses and doing things the right way. The state comes in, inspects it, and he's telling me there's like these pop-up vape shops, and they just come in, they open up right next to him. So he does the research to find out where the best places are, and then these guys just find a building close by, open it, and then if there's a legal problem, they'll just shut down and go to the next place. Like, it's wild. Like this whole, so there's a real issue with it. And it's a licensing enforcement, kind of trying to figure out who's going what. And there's a lot of products coming in from China that aren't supposed to be sold in these vape shops. They're not approved by anybody, and they're not allowed to be sold, but they're counterfeit and they look real, but they're not the real thing. So it is a real problem. It's something that we see some of here, but there's a proliferation of it in cities around the Commonwealth and probably United States.
Phone lines open, 724-843-1888, talking with State Representatives Kozak and Kail. We were mentioning the budget, of course, and what else is coming up in the next month or so? What are some of the issues or legislation you'll be looking at?
I mean, everything is sort of jockeying for the budget. So part of the budget, we have like the fiscal code and the education code and transportation, all of the things that will go into that. So there's a lot of, there are pieces of legislation that are being run that oftentimes might pass one chamber, not get to the other, but they're part of a negotiating package of what will make it into those codes. Because when we vote on the budget, we're voting on different codes as well. One of the things is the cell phone ban in schools. I mean, that's something that was huge, a big discussion talking about that.
What is the status of that?
So it passed the House. Is the Senate have? I mean, there's Robinson's bill in the Senate and there's Steele's bill in the House.
Yeah.
We passed it through the House. The Senate passed their version of it, so I think it's probably a reconciliation of some sort of the education code. The idea behind it is that it still keeps control local in that sense, but it tells the localities, like, you've got to come up with a policy to deal with these cell phones in the classroom. There are certain parameters you've got to follow because this is something that's actually a serious issue for schools. Some districts, if they already have their policies in place, many of them will be able to just continue on with that in the legislation that we've dealt with. But if you've been avoiding the issue, I mean, this is from teachers that I talk to, administrators. I've been for 2 years having people behind the scenes beg us in Harrisburg and say, please, guys, do something to give us a framework to work with so that our local school districts can figure these out.
And as a parent, now I'm speaking as a parent, not as a legislator, because there's a difference in what I believe I would like to see done personally, and local control issues and all this other stuff. But I would like to see my school district get rid of all electronics. Like, I don't want the iPads. I don't want the phones. I just, there's too much distractions for kids. Now, I do think it's a bridge too far to mandate that from the state. The iPhones or the cell phones, I agree with. We should be getting rid of them. The state should have done what we did. I voted yes on it. But I think school districts should also be looking at the iPads. A lot of these kids have iPads once they get into high school, and they're not all that restricted. I mean, they are restricted to an extent, but my son can still go on ESPN during class and read up on what's going on with the NBA Finals if he's inclined to. And as a 15-year-old kid, he's going to be. And we stay on his rear end about, those issues and stuff. But it is a massive, it's a massive distraction. And I am more convinced that giving a kid access to a phone or access to the internet too much without any type of oversight or regulation I mean, these things are the gateway to hell, and putting it in a younger person's hand during school when they're supposed to be learning, when they're looking for a distraction, because you remember what it was like in school. You were constantly trying to.
I would have been that kid looking up the score of the game.
Think how hard it is for us as adults.
It is, and we could talk about how I'd love to go back to flip phones and stuff like that, and I probably would personally, but we can't. Like, this is the world that we're living in. But for our kids, man, let their brains develop. Let them learn what they need to learn, and enjoy that school age without all these distractions, let alone all the social media nonsense.
Another high school matter, and this was the Johnstown TV station. Supporters urge state Senate action on bill to allow for separate PIAA playoff system. So that's public versus private schools. What's going on there?
So back in the 60s, obviously it was the civil rights era. And there was a court ruling that came out towards the end of that era into the early 70s that basically said you have to have, because of equal opportunity, you have to include every school in your system because they're a nonprofit, right? So they're not like some private sports league entity, right? They're a nonprofit. So they're going to have to provide some sort of equal opportunity. It's a different framework they were working at the time. I think there was probably racial issues as well, considering the schools that were involved and segregation and all of that coming out of that era. So it forced all of these schools to be together in playoffs. Well, the discussion has been, and the debate has been for a long time, is, a discussion around recruitment, discussion around, is there equal opportunity on the playing field if you have one school that can pull from anywhere and other schools that can't. So that's been a big discussion. In Harrisburg, it was a fascinating debate. Like, that was one of the more rigorous debates that we had, and passionate debates. People from different parts of the state have very different perspectives based on the schools that are near them, rural versus city, and so forth. There's a lot there with
and
that.
The problem is, Scott, and actually I think Roman and I voted differently on this, but the problem, one of the few issues, but the problem is there are a few schools around the state that really abuse the system. But there are hundreds of other schools that don't, that are going to end up paying for it because of these one or two schools that are dominating every year.
A couple. It's Philly, right?
Yeah, there's one coming out of Philly. There's a couple others apparently. But you look at, like, in the Pittsburgh region, Central Catholic usually has a pretty solid team, but it's competitive. They're not just smoking teams every year, right? Apparently there's a school out in Philly where it's just obscene. Like, they
it's
just
like NFL prospects
go to the
everywhere,
state finals and are winning 50-0 or something silly. I didn't hear. I never St. Joe's. I think it is.
Prep. Yeah.
But okay, and is that where Kobe Bryant went?
Maybe.
Oh wow.
I think it may have been. But so you have that one program. But then you have like schools like Beaver County Christian School that is just got back into single A, that is certainly not, dominating.
It's not bringing in NBA prospects.
They're not bringing in NBA prospects from Ghana or wherever else. And
like Sewickley is.
And if they don't, or if they're not allowed to compete in the WIPUL or PIAA, then they're going to have to travel an hour and a half for just every game instead of just going to Rochester or just going to Freedom or going, local games. So, I mean, bad facts make bad laws. And there are some situations that make it egregious that what we're seeing with this team out of Philly. But does that really mean that every other school, not just private schools, but charter schools as well, needs to, cut the progress that they've made? So it's a difficult issue. I understand there is an issue. I certainly do. And we want things to be fair. But at the same time, you don't want to be creating
more
10 different
chaos.
leagues. And I got to tell you, I'm very disappointed with the PIAA. I think the PIAA has totally bungled the divisions. Yeah. I think they've totally screwed up with the 6A. They're trying to get on board with this national framework. I think it's ridiculous. I think we should go back to the old Quad A system. And to give them the authority to do anything, which is what this bill did, it just gave them the authority to look at potentially making two playoff systems. is just, to me, I don't trust them. I don't trust them one bit. And
that law from the 70s. The state just decided to create a law to force them to combine these systems because it was trying to be consistent with the court ruling. Just to say, well, now it's statutory because it's aligned with what the court said. But now this rule, it would undo it and saying, okay, PIAA, now you can't use that as an excuse anymore. That was the debate that happened during that time period, and we'll see whether or not they do something with it or not, and it probably, could bungle it again.
Gentlemen, we have like 45 seconds left. Anything else? You have any meetings coming up or public events you want to highlight?
Garrison Day's coming. We'll be down, our office and myself will be down in Garrison Day down in Beaver.
Saturday.
Yep, Saturday.
Big day.
Yeah, it is. It'll be a good day. And look, we're in budget week. Roman and I are going to be out in Harrisburg every week. And as the month goes longer, we'll be out there longer. And hopefully we can get a budget done that is responsible. And that's what we'll be working on.
We're fighting for that responsibility. $6 billion deficit is not responsible from the governor. Just simply not responsible.
And we cannot forget that every dollar Harrisburg spends is a dollar it takes from you. And it's just like, we act like it's monopoly money. It just drives me nuts.
The way they use it, it's revenue, as if it's some generation. It's
every
not.
dollar we spend is a dollar that we took. And it's a real problem.
All right, we appreciate your time in here. We'll touch on that when we see you again a month from now. Good luck.
Let's go.
Thank you.
Guys.
Vehicle shopping is confusing.